Welcome back to Daybreak Live, about 3 after the hour. Brother Donnie Blackman, along with Quincy Leach from Coosa Valley Medical Center this morning. We're talking about wound care. And Quincy, good morning. Good to see you, brother.
Good morning, Jimmy.
It's been a long time, hasn't it? I mean, you dress up real good.
Well, thank you.
And Brother Donnie, always good to see you. Let's talk a little bit about wound care, and Quincy, your position at the hospital puts you right in the middle of that. Talk about it a little bit.
It does. The wound center has been open for just about 3 years now. We've seen a lot of advancements. Our patient numbers are growing, and we've had a lot of success thus far, healing a lot of wounds out. A lot of patients have came in with very difficult to heal open wounds on their body, and we've been able to use our science and our know-how to help those folks heal those wounds, because as you know, wounds can be a challenge for a lot of patients and can actually be a problem during their life.
Now, Brother Donnie, you know firsthand about the expertise at Coosa Valley Medical Center.
I sure do, and I'm going to tell you, I think the Lord's blessed us in many ways, Brother Jimmy Dale, here in Sylacauga. And of course, our hospital is one of the ways, and then the wound clinic being part of the hospital. I certainly appreciate that, and matter of fact, I'm being treated now.
Now, how did you guys get connected?
Through the hospital. Quincy was, I guess you had the emergency room and ICU at one time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And just from visiting the hospital.
Quincy, talk about the pressures. You know, you talk about intensive care, you talk about the ER. Man, that's never ending, is it?
It isn't, but you know, it's a blessing. That environment, though it's a very stressful environment, it's an environment where you get to know a lot of people, and you get to see a lot of people in a time of need, and be something that they might be able to take away a memory from that traumatic event in their life that's a blessing to them as well. So very difficult, but also very personally satisfying to have been able to be a part of that.
Now, how long have you been in the medical field?
25 years.
You ought to have it right by now.
Well, you would think so.
Talk a little bit about some of the advances that you've seen in wound care through Coosa Valley Medical Center in the last 10 years or so.
Well, the Wound Center, Coosa Valley Wound Care, is partnered with a much larger wound care entity that has expertise in healing very difficult to heal wounds. And so, you know, when we're at home and we have some kind of an injury to ourselves, we typically just clean the wound with something, and that might be peroxide or alcohol, and we may put a Band-Aid on it. But at the Wound Care Center, there's been a lot of studies done on how to heal wounds that don't heal normally, and we're able to apply things to those wounds and do things to those wounds that we might not have access to at home, up into including developing a treatment plan for that wound and being able to provide services to the patient to help with that they might not have access to otherwise.
Brother Donnie, when we were kids, we'd get skin up and get the hide knocked off, and Mama would put mercurochrome on it.
Oh, yeah.
And it would burn, and it would heal, but we're talking about deeper wound care, and what are some of the wounds and that kind of thing, Quincy, that y'all deal with?
Well, we see a lot of different kinds of wounds. One of the biggest things that causes a wound is disease processes, as well as trauma to the body in some way, from whether it's a fall or car accident or anything where trauma can be inflicted. But a lot of times patients have diabetes, or they have poor blood flow to their lower extremities, or they have vein problems in their legs, can develop ulcers that are very difficult to heal because they're not really getting enough nutrient and enough oxygen to apply to heal. So it's our job to kind of look for that cause or that etiology of that wound and address those issues to help in the wound healing process.
Brother Donnie, you personally know of the Wound Care Center here in Sylacauga. Can you talk a little bit about how they've helped you?
Oh yeah, and one thing I want to make clear to start out with, they're not there to hurt you. They're there to help you. And thought hit my mind. I think it was sometime yesterday after I had talked with you and then talked with Quincy here about coming. They're not there to hurt you. You're already hurt or sick when you get there. They're there to do their part in healing you. Another thing that I have found, and I know they wouldn't try to push certain things on different people, but I've actually prayed with them over treating me. They all accepted that, all the staff. If I personally even quench a little, they'll apologize. Well, I'm sorry. They're not there to try to hurt you. They're trying to help you. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I thank the Lord that we've got it. I started out, the first wound clinic I used was down in Ellick City. And I immediately started saying, we need a wound clinic in Sylacauga, so thank God we've got one.
Yeah, and how long has this one been here?
Right at 3 years we've been open.
Okay. Now, how many people are involved with the Wound Care Center?
So we have a marketer, Bethany Carmack, that she's out and about every day working with our local and even some of the out of area physicians to try to help let them know, hey, we've got wound care and that we can help you with your difficult to heal wound patients. We have a front office staff. Her name is Shaylin Downing, and her job is day to day helping patients get scheduled, giving them information that they need, documents that need worked on, insurance coverage, all that kind of stuff. And then we have 2 nurses that do all of our patient intakes and develop the relationships with the patients. That's Kay and Belinda. Miss Kay has been with me ever since we opened the center, and Miss Belinda came on board about a year ago or a little bit more, and they've both just been a blessing and addition to the staff. And then we've got Chastity Bryant, which is a tech that she's not with us every day because she's in nursing school, but she comes in some days to sort of help get patient intakes accomplished, and they all just do such a good job there to help, and it makes the patient's visit more seamless for them.
A couple of weeks ago, I pinched my finger, and it developed a blood blister. And it went along, and it eventually healed. But we're talking about difficult wounds that are tough to deal with. What are some of the more common wounds that you deal with there?
Well, probably right now they're kind of neck and neck, but venous ulcerations on the lower legs and diabetic foot wounds are probably the more common things that we see. And right now, about 34% of our patients have diabetic foot wounds, and about 34% of them have venous ulcerations on their lower extremities. And they're there for different reasons, but they're both wounds, and they both require a little bit different things to help those wounds to heal. But unless those things are addressed, they usually won't heal.
Now, the long-term rate of it healing, if it's not treated, it can really be traumatic.
Well, you can lose a limb over these wounds, especially if an infection gets into the wound, or if the limb just fully loses blood supply to it over time. You can actually lose an entire limb over these ulcers if they're not properly taken care of.
I'm sure that you work very closely with the physicians and stuff there at the hospital and throughout the area, because they play a key role as well.
They do. We receive a lot of referrals from our local physicians, and we also refer patients out to our local physician staff whenever there's something that we see that needs to be done to assist this patient's wound to heal as well. Or if we see some other medical problem that they have that maybe is not even associated with the wound, but it's something that's not under control. Maybe their blood pressure staying high every time we see them, but we're doing a little bit more with them than just working with their wound. We're working with their spirit, and we're working with the with the other issues that they have as well.
Brother Donnie, when you were on the council, I believe I'm right on this, you were the liaison to the hospital, and people really need to understand and appreciate what we have here in Sylacauga.
Of course, I'm telling you, and back when I was actually on the council and serving there with Coosa Valley, representing the city when all these different hospitals was being closed, and my Lord, it's quite often I thank the Lord for our hospital, and they're there to help, and Quincy and his staff over there is a branch of the hospital. They're there to help, and one thing I would sort of clarify in my mind, and I think Quincy, you may have mentioned this in one of the treatments. Does not our body, and I know as we get older and our health gets worse, there's certain parts of our body that just don't call out to itself, I guess would be it. Is there something within our body that tells that it needs to be healed? And you wake that up sort of with what you do.
You're exactly right in saying that. Your wounds go through different stages of healing, and there's actually 4 of them, but they've studied this, and wounds that get hung up in what we call the inflammatory state, they won't move from there to the healing process. And what we do at the wound center is stimulate that wound so that it will move back from that inflammatory phase to a point where your body actually recognizes that you have a wound, and it uses your immune system to help re-clean that wound. And so it just kind of stimulates that healing process to start over. And sometimes those wounds just get hung up in a spot where they don't want to move forward, and that can be for different reasons. Infection could be one, and that's one of the more common things that we see is the wound has got enough bacteria in there that without the debridement or the cleaning of the wound and the culture and us putting you on an appropriate antibiotic that shows sensitivity to certain bacteria to help move that wound from that inflammatory phase towards that healing phase and that remodeling phase that we see with wound healing.
So where's the physical location of the Wound Care Center?
We're located over on Anniston Avenue, right in front of the main entrance of Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Okay, and I guess Monday through Friday or so?
Monday through Friday, we're there all day. Sometimes on Fridays we might dodge out a little bit early, but we're there as long as the patients need us, for sure.
Tell me and our audience a success story that just jumps off the page to you.
Well, you know, without naming any names,
Right.
we had a gentleman that came in a while back that had a venous ulceration on his leg.
Explain that. What does that mean?
He had his veins in his legs, the valves were bad, and so the blood would not flow back up out of the legs, and so the leg swells, and as a result, fluid has to find a way out, and so you have an ulceration open up. It may have started as a blister, or it may have started as a minor trauma, but for whatever reason, with that venous disease, the blood flow to that ulcer is not being able to move through properly. And so with sending this patient for some testing for his veins and getting some of that fixed and doing local wound care on him, coming in to see us once a week, we were able to heal this patient's ulcer, and he had had it for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So he thought it would never heal, but you know, that day we say it's healed. To see these patients' faces light
Absolutely.
up with relief, to know that they were able to get rid of that wound that might have been a stigma or a life issue for them, it's just fantastic.
Now, is this, and Brother Donnie mentioned it, older Americans, could this be even younger people or maybe people that are maybe overweight or obese or something like that?
Definitely, and we're seeing younger and younger patients. COVID has actually got some aspects of it that cause patients to have wounds. So we're kind of looking for that now, especially when we see certain kinds of wounds. One of the questions that we have is, have you had COVID? So
now
we
connect
are
the dots
seeing.
on that.
Well, COVID has one of its features is it can cause a blood clotting issue, and as a result of that blood clotting issue, patients lose blood flow to a hand or an arm or to part of a leg, and so then they develop ulcers on that extremity because they lost blood flow to it for a certain period of time, and so they're directly related to the COVID virus.
Wow. Does this care have to be doctor ordered, or can they just contact you guys, or what?
In a lot of cases, patient can refer themselves to the center. It's okay if you call your physician's office and they refer you to us, but in a lot of cases, you don't even need a referral to come see us.
Is this male, female, young, old?
All of the above. See anybody 13 and above, and depending on the size of the person, could be younger than that.
Yeah. When Brother Donnie Blackman mentioned you being on, sure you've been on before some time back, but when Brother Donnie mentioned it, Brother Donnie, you had a personal interest in this because you've been successfully treated there at the Wound Care Center in Sylacauga, and a lot of people watch this show from different areas, and I want you to personally share with them what this means to you.
Well, and what I think it means, especially to people that's not privileged to have ways to travel and to get somewhere else to the care they need, and that would make it available for here in Sylacauga, that our residents and then people in the surrounding areas that they may not can get to Elliott City. And when I was talking about us needing one, I was not trying to take anything away from anybody else. I was trying to give something to our citizens that we didn't have. So I think it's wonderful. I think we've got a good hospital. I served with Mr. Sist and all the different board members of the hospital for 4 years, and I know their heart. I know they're here to help, and the hospital is. And one thing that people needs to understand, if you go, whether it be to the hospital or to the wound clinic or wherever, I let it slip in there one day, and I asked, I think it was Miss Belinda or Nurse Belinda, I said, are y'all still treating so-and-so? And she said, now, you know I can't tell you that. Now, they will not share your information with nobody.
Yeah.
They got respect for you, and they just can't do it. They
You
don't
know,
do
HIPAA
it.
laws are HIPAA laws for a
That's
reason.
right.
Yeah.
So we're honored, we're blessed to have it, and I've got every bit of confidence in the world, not only in Quincy, but his staff that he's got, because I've worked with him in the past, and me in the ministry, and him in the medical field at the hospital and ICU, and so I know they're not there to hurt, and they're there to heal. But they also realize that prayer is a vital process of any healing, and they acknowledge that, and so thank the Lord. I'm honored to have one.
Quincy, are kids and young adults going to school to learn more about wound care and that kind of stuff?
You know, it's interesting. Right now, throughout general medical studies, you don't get a whole lot of specialized wound care. You kind of have to seek it out, which was what I did. There are a couple of national bodies that's what they do, is wound care and the study of wound care, and so they're out there, but you sort of have to seek them out.
Is it a continual learning process for you as well?
It absolutely is, because there's new technology and new things coming out every day that are being studied that have shown promise in healing difficult to heal wounds.
Wow, fantastic. Quincy Leach, who's, I guess are you over the wound care center here?
Well, I have a collaborating physician. His name is Dr. Matthew Diamond, and I'm the one that you would see most of the time if you come to the center. He is there for expertise for me to reach out to if I have questions about anything, but on a day-to-day, I'm the provider in the center that is doing direct wound care.
You see a lot of patients every day?
Yes, we see somewhere around 15 to 20
wow.
patients on an average
Wow.
day.
Wow. Hey, thank you for our service to our community, and we're thankful for Coosa Valley Medical Center and the Wound Care Center here in Sylacauga. And Brother Donnie, always a pleasure to see you, and hope y'all have a wonderful Easter. This is Palm Sunday, and the following week is the most important week of the year for believers, Brother Donnie.
That's true, absolutely. And I always tell people, Christmas and Easter, you cannot separate the two because you can't have one without the other.
There you go. Got more Daybreak coming up right after this.